Let's start. So hello, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. So as you may know, we will run today together a personal workshop for higher education institutions targeting Chinese students. So my name is Anny, and I'm in charge of the marketing and communication at Duhno Marketing. I do regular research about China higher education market. And recently, I wrote a white paper about how to successfully recruit Chinese students for overseas schools and how to prepare for 2023-2024 school year. Benoit, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, Annie. So on my side, Benoit Raoult, I'm the CEO and the founder of Duhno Marketing. I'm involved for more than 10 years in higher education in China. So I will share today some relevant experience. I'm also really used to run workshops. So today I will facilitate the workshops for the participants. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, Benoit. So here's today's agenda. We will start with a short introduction. Then we will explain what is a persona, why it is important to have one, how to use it, and then you will do the persona workshop. After that, we will have some time for Q&A, and then we will finish with the conclusion. So if at any point of this presentation you have any question, I invite you to write them down in the chat, and we will try to answer them all along the webinar or during the Q&A session at the end. So what are the latest trends in the higher education market? So the number of Chinese students going abroad to study has never stopped increasing since the past 20 years. And even if lately the pandemic has impacted the number of students going abroad, Chinese students are still very eager to get the degree in a foreign university. Also, as you can see in this graph, we can observe some changes regarding the preferred study destinations. So the US is no longer the top country, which give more opportunities to other countries to attract Chinese students into their school. And also we need to keep in mind that China is still the biggest market in terms of student recruitment by sending an average of 700,000 Chinese students abroad every year. So what is a persona and why it matters? So a persona, and here more specifically in the higher education sector, is a representation of the ideal student that you want to enroll. It is a merge of different profiles that you have that has similar demographics and behaviors in your school. And it is usually a combination of real data about your existing students and market research. And based on your focus, so specific programs you want to promote or else, your school may have different student persona, each with their own motivations, pain points, and preferred communication methods. And even if you might have many personas, we usually advise schools to put their focus only on their top 3 personas to better spend their marketing budget and get better results. So why personas matter? So once you have your persona, it can be used as a tool to segment your messages. So for instance, in social media strategies, advertisement, or recruitment campaigns. In short, the more you know your persona, the less time your team will spend to qualify and recruit them afterwards. And this is also why it is really important to run a persona workshop at the early stage of targeting China market, because China cannot be seen as one country, but more as a puzzle of 20 countries with people from different culture background, different living habits, different mentality, and even different way of communication. So as higher education professional, we should all ask ourselves, do I have an idea about who I should target in China? And if you can answer that question, you are already increasing your chance to succeed in your future marketing campaigns. So here is an example of persona. And by the end of this webinar, you will all have one in hand today. So let me present you my student persona. So this is Fiona. She's Chinese. She's 22 years old. She's studying in a local university in Shanghai, and she's about to graduate with a bachelor in economics next year, and she's considering studying abroad for a master's degree. Fiona has many friends that have studied abroad, and she's very inspired by their stories. Since she's still very unsure about where she wants to go, she's asking advice to her professors, and she follows a lot of overseas Chinese students on social media who are sharing their everyday life abroad. Her main concern about going abroad is worrying her family. Indeed, her parents are very afraid of the pandemic situation and the political tension in some countries. So now you might think, okay, this is really nice, but what can I do with all this information? And here I will let Benoit continue.
Yes, thank you, Annie. So, yeah, why those persona are useful? How and why and how we can use them? So, can you go to the next slide? Let's take an idea of a campaign brief. So, I would like to create awareness on public platform for my school. I want to target potential students that can join my school. And as a campaign strategy, I have heard that vlog are really good, and that I can attract many people from those vlogs, and then I want the people to stimulate their desire to attend my school. So here we have taken a case study from one of our clients, Rennes School of Business, and then to encourage sharing tips about what is the life at Rennes School of Business. So take this brief and then think what can happen if I don't really understand my persona. So can you go back to the next slide? Thank you. So this is the campaign overall. And then I want to do vlogs, so I need to engage on Douyin. I have heard that Douyin, the Chinese TikTok, is really, really good. I can do a lot of vlog videos on it. It has a lot of young user. So I decide to go on these specific platforms. So I will encourage our current students to take short videos on Douyin and share them to try to bring more and more visibility to the school and showing their happiness, their difficulties around the school. Then I expect potential students to be able to find those videos, and at the same time, students can also share about their real experience with the school. What happened? Sorry, can you go back? What happened on this is Douyin. Can you no go back on the other side? Yes, thanks. Douyin is actually a platforms where we cannot really connect anything at the background to generate leads for the schools. So if that idea looks really good, it's actually also a poor understanding of the persona to go on Douyin for now, in the sense that our persona that we have identified for that school are more on WeChat and Weibo and less on Douyin today. So Douyin will be really high level awareness, but will have no conversion point. So it will be really, really hard in terms of marketers to harvest the result of that campaign. So by understanding the persona properly and by understanding the capacity of the tools, the Douyin tools in the funnel where I want to address my people, we decided to run the campaign differently. And now you can go to the next slide, Tim, please. Thanks. When we execute that campaign for our client, Rennes School of Business, we decided to have the vlog aspect on Weibo mainly, and relay those stories on WeChat, where we had our two main audience were on those two different platforms. To amplify this, not only using those platforms, we also decided to join our efforts with some KOLs in these specific higher education segments. And with all of this, we got some interesting results in terms of awareness with a large volume of impression, a large number of posts. So that was pretty interesting. And then we also successfully get some, I would say, get some interest for the school and for the news. So basically we received comments, a lot of Weibo and a part on WeChat, where people were asking us, oh, but how can I graduate? Where shall I graduate? How that will work? So this is really a good usage of the persona by understanding where they will be on the platforms, but also in terms of goals, we wanted to answer one of their questions: how is life in Rennes? So we can secure the students and we can secure their family about how the current students are living in that city, understanding the situation of COVID, understanding the situation of political reasons for the different countries in Europe, what was the situation there in France. So that's a how to use your persona properly to create a successful marketing campaign that can have a proper level of results on your targeted persona.
Okay, thank you, Benoit. So now it's your turn to create your own persona. So in today's workshop, we will have 4 sessions of 5 minutes each to determine the profile, the aspirations, the journey, and the challenges of your persona. So I invite everyone to take a sheet of paper and a pencil to write down all the answers. So before we begin, here are some ground rules in order to run the workshop properly without any hassle. So be here now, be focused, don't do anything else that might distract you, make your thinking visible, and if you are doing this exercise in group, be respectful with the ideas of other people. So Benoit, I'll let you take the hand again.
Thank you. So we will do a series of 4 different exercises to highlight the 4 parts that Annie has been mentioning earlier. The first part is we need to draft the profile of our persona in terms of demographics, bringing a couple of criteria and how we want to scale them. So in order to facilitate this work, we have decided to give you a couple of examples behind. So for example, you want to target specific cities or one specific city. So it can be the name of the city, but here for China, we decided to engage with the tier level of the city. So some of you might know China has different tiers of cities. And here we have the big cities as tier 1 cities like Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, or Guangzhou. And then we have tier 2 to tier 6. The definition is like this, with more than 600 cities overall listed in those criteria. The criteria are for number of population, but as well the GDP of each city. Then we have a criteria of age. You might be willing to target undergraduates. You might be willing to target actually working people to go for an executive MBA, for example. So those are also different kind of profiles you want to target. So also defining the age is quite important. Maybe an education background. You want people that have already a bachelor degree so they can come to a master in your program, or you want to target people that already have a master in order for them to do an executive MBA or a continuous education program. So this is also quite important to understand. And then also the criteria of their budget for education. So that might not be their own budget, that might be the family budget available for the students to go abroad. That will allow us to understand if that person can go for 1-2 years abroad, or if they can do a full program abroad. So that's pretty important. I hope this is clear. Feel free to ask questions in the chat if you want a bit more details. The way we will work now is individually on your piece of paper, you can start to draft what are your ideas of the demographic of your persona. I will give you 3 minutes to fill up that part. Many other aspects can enter in the demographic than the one that are mentioned here. So feel free to come with any ideas that would segment the people you would like to address in China. So allow me to start a timer, and then I will remind you at 1 minute that we are just 1 minute away from the end of this session. Be ready. 1, 2, 3, go. to pump up the pressure on the teams here. 2 minutes left. Okay, about 1 minute left for everyone to write down their demographic aspect of their persona. Twenty seconds. Four, three, two, one. All right. So I hope you have some good points here. I haven't seen any question in the chat so far, so feel free to use the chat to add additional questions if you want. Now that we have this section done, it's time to move to the second quadrant in our page. Tim, can you please go to the next sessions?
You cannot see my page. I'm already in the aspirations.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, perfect. Now I can see it. Okay, good. So now let's talk about the aspirations. What those students that will join you are becoming after graduation from their school. What are you basically promising to those people when they come and join you? So this is really important, because this is for the marketers, this is the final vision, what we are expecting to deliver to the people as an image of success when they actually work and collaborate with you. So you may already have an idea of what you are promising to the people. You might already have some alumni experience about what they became when they graduate from your school. Some of the Chinese students, what they have become, how successful they have done. So here we put a couple of examples. So if you are a law school, can be university or can be private school, they want to become international lawyers. They want to join you to become the nice lawyers that we have in the series Suits, for example. If you are a fan of TV shows, that could be one of the examples. So if they dream about becoming this, what are you selling them and what are you putting in front of them? Some of you might also be more, let's say, entrepreneurial or managerial in the way that you are offering a vision to your students. So we are talking here about CEOs or founders of company, how to become more entrepreneurial on that aspect. And for the other ones, you may have another one willing to become a manager of a successful international business. That's also one of the vision that we can deliver to the people. So understanding what is the expected image in the persona mind is really important to be able to draft the proper message to them. So same as the session before, I will give you 3 minutes to fill up your quadrant on your page. So be ready. 1, 2, 3, go. And we have a question in the chat. If we look at the different programs that you have, so the question is about if we have different programs, can we have different aspirations? So here we are looking at one a single persona. So if you feel one persona can actually join multiple of your program, maybe you need to find the common aspiration to those people. So that would be important. Are they willing to become a manager? Are they willing to become a super good technician? What are they willing to become? So you can join those profile. And what we call a joint profile is a persona. In that case, it's exactly what we want to develop. If you feel it's different career paths and different aspirations, it might mean you have different persona. So you're not addressing the same people because they will not respond to the same communication. So in that case, you might be willing to develop multiple persona profile. We have 1 minute left. Thirty seconds. Two, one. All right. So now we start to have our persona that is becoming more and more clear. So we have its demographic, and now we have its aspiration. So let's move to the third quadrant about the journey. So when we have an idea of the persona, we need to understand on which platform, which touch points we can actually engage with that persona. So earlier in the example I took, you remember I was mentioning Douyin as an example, saying, oh, cool, Douyin is a nice platform, so let's go on it. Actually, our audience was not really proactive on Douyin. So it was not necessarily a good idea to go on Douyin. It's obviously a good idea on a marketing point of view. There is no problem to that. But in accordance to our persona, it didn't make sense because our persona were more on Weibo and WeChat. So here, our goal is to understand where are we meeting this specific persona on their journey. So we listed a couple of ideas here. For example, we can meet them on campus when we organize campus visits. So I don't know if some of you have virtual tours that you open for the Chinese students to be able to have an idea of the campus without traveling. This can be a way that you are meeting some of the students. Through agents. I'm sure many of you today have used or are using agents in China. That's pretty popular. And those agents are introducing some of the prospects. So this is an important understanding of the touch points. Then it can be for a partner. So it can be a partnership with cities, with universities, with different schools that allows you to get some introduction and touch points with them. It can be a trade show. You can do a road show in China, going from different cities to introduce your school to different students, or it can be social media. Basically, as we mentioned earlier, Douyin, WeChat can be search engines for some of you, can be really different type of touch points. So same concept. Based on your experience, if you already have recruited some of those Chinese students, or by anticipating where you intend to meet them, please also, using the next 3 minutes, use that time to list the different touch points. And you can even sort them in order. If in some cases you have an order to it in terms of progress in the funnel, feel free to organize them and list them. So now, allow me to start the 3 minutes. Be ready, go. Yes, your website can be considered as a touch point. So you can really take that as one of the information points that some of the persona will go through. So yes, you can use that. 2 minutes left. Yes, for the order, it's not necessarily really easy to put them in an order. With the new digital tool, sometimes people can be, I don't know, on a trade show with you and looking at the social media at one of your competitors. So it's not necessarily easy to drive an order. So I was just offering that, for example, as a funnel. So if you engage with people, they visit your website first earlier in the funnel, or even they have seen you on a list, for example. So you are part of the top business schools in France, because I used the same example that I have earlier. Then they might have seen your name once there, so that's an initial touch point. Then down the funnel, they might visit your social media, that's another one, or they might visit your website. And then they might come and go for a campus tour because they have some interest before putting you on top of their list. So that's typical kind of funnel, what I was meaning earlier. So we're just about to time. Yes, perfect. So that's the 3 minutes. So I hope now that you have those three initial quadrant filled up. So the basically what we have described as the demographic of the person, the promise that we have made to them, and now where are we going to meet them? Now, we can move to the challenges. What is really important to understand when we will work on the marketing communication is really to understand and identify what are the challenges, the problems, the questions that our persona is having. What is keeping them awake at night, if I may say it this way? So, oh, wow, I would like to go to France to this nice university, but I don't know how much will cost the tuition fees, and I don't know if my family can offer that. that might be one of the challenge for some of them, or how much that will cost to actually live there, or can I find a job after if I'm over there, can I have a small job, a student jobs, so I can have enough money to sustain when I'm over there. Those are pretty important. So we listed couple of those challenges, common challenges that we have seen. Why should I go in this specific country? Can I link my career after that in the fact that I can speak the language from that country, for example, or I will have nice business opportunity between China and that country? It's like, why should I choose that country? Then how to know if the school is good? What is the ranking of the school? How can I identify the teachers, the professors, who I need to identify to? Are they doing research? If I want to do a PhD after. So how to know if the school is actually a good one? What are the job opportunity after graduation? So where are the other previous alumni students? What have they done? Is it going in the promise that the school is making? Shall I be able to join also this kind of opportunity? How long am I waiting before finding my first job? Those kind of questions are important to the audience. And then is it easy for a foreigner to find a lodging? That's also a usual questions. When people go through agents, usually the agents are answering all those questions. But now if you go by digital marketing, you will have to answer many of those questions. So how do I find lodging? Is it pretty easy and convenient to find a place? Or are they dormitories at the school? Or this kind of questions are also important. So same, either based on the experience you have already by answering some of the questions of your students, or if you are let's say, forecasting what your students' problems can be, it's quite important to write them down and try to address them in the communication after. So same process than the three first quadrants. I give you 3 minutes to answer those questions, or I don't know, identify those challenges, questions from your persona. So let's go.
Benoit, I have a question here. So you mentioned earlier that the family could have concerns. So could a parents be a persona? Is it possible?
Yeah. Actually, the family is a persona in a sense. Can be the parents. Can be for some of the families is actually the grandparents that are engaged into the program and looking for the information. So I would consider the students in itself as one of the persona that have specific challenges or concerns, and then I will have the family that might be searching for different aspects. And what we were looking earlier, it's also different touch points that might be considered. The students might be more on social media. That's what we have observed. And the family might be more looking on search engines, so will be more sensitive to the SEO content that you would generate, blogs on your website, or ranking of schools that are available publicly because of the press releases and all these kind of things. So they even have different ways to access the information on the different platforms and touch points. So that's a super valid point, and that's potentially two different persona for the different schools that we have here today. Yeah. We have 1 minute left. Thirty seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Done. All right. So now we have filled up the 4 quadrants of our persona. So we told you that we will have 4 steps. We have an additional one, let's say a bonus one. As mentioned by Annie at the beginning of the workshop, when she presented her own persona, she gave her a name. You named her Fiona, right? Yes. So it's also quite important to give a name and even a picture to your persona. So it can be actually a drawing or it can be a real picture, but you need to provide a name and a drawing. It's quite important in the process because later it will be easier to reference that persona when you talk with your team members. Oh, today I had talked with a Fiona, or we have a new Fiona coming to our website. That's easier for the people to understand what you are referring to than if you are talking about, the ladies that have 22 years old and are now coming from Nanjing city. So this starts to be really difficult to explain and express. So giving a name to your persona is usually way more efficient. So we will give you 1 minute to maybe try to name your persona. So it can be we put here Western name, Chinese name, doesn't really matter. What matters is something that you can remember. So maybe you have well-known Chinese students that came to your school that everyone are referencing to, and then you can really use that name for the persona, or they can be inspiring people by the career that they have had thanks to the education you have given them. So I just give you 1 minute to think about it. It's a nice complement to your persona. So let's go. $15 seconds. Four, three, two, one, done. All right. So now on your piece of paper, you should have your 4 quadrants and 1 name. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, perfect. So is there someone willing to expose his persona, willing to share what they have come out with? Anyone willing to expose that? We have many shy people, or you're not willing to share to your competitors. All right. Anyway, that's fine if no one wants to do it. We had Ting who presented a persona earlier in the presentation, so you should have a result that is about this kind of profile. Doesn't matter if you don't share it, because here the purpose is really for you to have it for your own team and be able to work with it. Now we can go to question and answer. Any questions, concerns that you might have? So Sam, you can type in the chat. We can collect a couple of questions. We have a bit of time for that. So question about the number of persona, the right number of persona. All right, that's a difficult question. You don't necessarily, I mean, for each schools, we have looked at different persona and different level. This is really important. What is really important is to have a list of the potential persona. Eventually, it can be segmented by program. So you might be offering different programs to the persona, and each program might have different persona. So you may have the ideal Chinese students persona, and then you have below that, based on the program, you may have different level of persona. Is there a good number of persona after that in terms of marketing? And I think, Anny, you mentioned that earlier in the presentation, we usually work with 2 to 3 persona maximum. It's really a matter of budget. So if you start to address every single persona, you might have 5, 6, 7 persona sometimes. Addressing all of them doesn't necessarily make sense. You will spread thin your budget to really different type of people, and then you will have, or you will harvest really not necessarily good results. So we really advise normally to focus on 1, 2, 3 types of persona maximum and address really specific communication toward them. This has proven to be more successful in terms of results, and you can be more opportunistic on the other type of profile. So you can recognize them if they come to you, but you don't necessarily have spent marketing dollars on them. So I'm sure among a certain list of persona that you have, you might be willing to have, some of them might be more or working more in terms of culture or in terms of behavior, working more with your schools. So this, you can address it. Clearly, we have one of our clients running personality tests, for example, so to qualify if the people are really eager to participate to their school based on their culture, personal culture. So this is really up to you to go down to that level, but I don't want to necessarily nail down the number of persona. On the other hand, what we mentioned with the parents, family, and the students itself, or the influencers around. So it's also really important to understand in your persona who influence who. So you can spend the budget on the top influencers. So if you detect that, for example, if you're hiring undergraduates just after high school, their family might have more to say than the student themselves. So then you can spend more money on the family persona and less on the students itself, because it has to agree to what their parents are offering. So you still need to communicate to them, but the big influencers are the parents. On the other end, if you're talking about continuous education and executive MBA program after 7 to 10 years of experience, the family weight might be way lower. And in that case, you want to address the professional students directly. So same, the influence between the different persona that you have might help you to decide how to use your budget. So I hope this is answering this really good questions. Any additional questions that you may have today? One of the questions we have, like just to while you're waiting for your own questions, one of the questions that we have quite often is on which social media shall I invest my budget? So here we are, when we are talking and considering the persona. So in the initial example that we had, shall I go on Douyin because it's trendy, it's a bit sexy, I like to try it as a marketer? Or shall I go on traditional platforms like WeChat or Weibo? Or shall I go on Xiaohongshu? Or like there are many possibilities in China. It's a bit of different than in the West, where you basically have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and that covers a large part of the population. In China, you have a lot of different possibilities. So I would say matching that to your persona is important, and also understanding what you can harvest in terms of marketing information. And one of the really nice platforms that have been developed over time is WeChat. WeChat allows you to plug a social CRM, so a marketing CRM behind, and really allows the marketer to collect a lot of information from the students, so, or the family actually, so the different persona, and then to qualify them and then be able to share them to your recruitment teams. So this is really really important to understand what level the platform is good at. So for example, Xiaohongshu or Douyin are really high level awareness platforms, and you don't necessarily expect to harvest directly some contacts out of this. But if you are a bit lower in the funnel, a Weibo channel can be a good way to chat with your audience and interact with them and start to generate some appeal or some consideration of your school. And then again, down the funnel or on trade show to activate the digital capacity of WeChat, it really allows you to collect information or book meetings by collecting names of people. There are really a lot of tricks at this level that allows you as a marketer to really consolidate data. Out of the social media, you also have the search engines and the paid ads on search engines. So the paid search is really good. So having the right landing pages, allowing you to capture people information, for example, if they want to download a program information. This is also a nice way to see that people are considering your school and then to eventually call to them directly from your recruitment teams. That might be a good way. So there are no perfect social media. There are some social media allowing you to do some, I would say, bottom of the funnel kind of activation, and some others that will be super high in the funnel. So really two different levels.
Benoit, I do have another question here.
Sure.
So beside the personal workshop, is there any other workshop you could advise that could be useful for the higher education sector?
Okay. So here today we are offering that initial workshop because we have seen working with many of the clients that sometimes the persona in your own country was well defined, but we also identified that some of the people were not necessarily taking the time to work their Chinese profiles. So here we have done what we call the first step of our marketing plan, so the persona. The next step, and we have touched it a little bit today in this simplified version of the persona, the next step is the customer journey. So really, when you go into the journey, what is the next step, where I meet my customer, how I engage with that customer, how that will actually work. So this is the second step. And the last step is the tone of voice that we usually work, where we have similar interview workshops kind of spectrum. So those are basically the three type of workshops that are pretty important to run or to question yourself when you're working on your audiences for China. All right, maybe it's time to move to the next part. So conclusions, yeah. So here we are happy to have shared with you all this. All those elements. We can engage together as a next step if some of you are willing to define your yearly calendar. So we know now it's the beginning of the year. You may have an intake in January, February, or another intake in September next year. It's time to plan. Plan your different campaigns to be able to be successful for the next intake. Some people are asking us why working with us. So here we have put a couple of elements. So we are based in China and we have a good understanding of the industry locally. We act as the guardian of your brand. So we manage your e-reputation in China, and we know for school e-reputation are super important. We lower the average student's onboarding cost. So this is really important. We have run statistics compared to the price of agents sometimes. And we are able on average to lower the onboarding costs thanks to advanced digital marketing techniques. And then we like to execute targeted marketing. So this workshop was really about understanding your persona really well, because if you are targeting all your marketing budgets toward the right persona, then it can be more efficient. So we believe in targeting marketing, and this is why we believe you should spend your marketing budget properly with us by only spending on the people that matters. So you can book an appointment with us. You have our emails here, Benoit and Anny. We share below a couple of the schools that we have worked with in the past. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. We also spend the time to write a white paper, if you want, a catalog or a book on how to welcome Chinese students for 2003-2024 academic year. So you can scan the QR codes here, or if you're interested, you can send us an email, and we'll be able to send you a copy of this white paper. I'd like to take the time to thank you all for your attention today, and we will keep you informed if we organize other workshops on similar topics toward higher education for the Chinese market. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.